to go. But since we're up in Humboldt, we just decided to be up here in Humboldt and go to one of the small ones. So we're all over here at my mom's place right now. I'm gonna have her cook breakfast for me, and haven't had that in a long time, so it's kind of nice.
Yeah. Do you normally get any training in on a Sunday, or is that usually your sort of day of rest during the week?
Day of rest, but I usually do like some sort of run, light activity, hiking, swimming, maybe a little bit of everything, and then go do a sauna at the end of the day. So since we have to drive back from Humboldt to where I live right now, which is 5.5, 6 hours away, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to go get my run in right now. We're going to go see a couple of people, and then got to rip back out to Sacramento and go get my sauna session in with the wife.
Yeah. Yeah. How does your week normally look throughout sort of split your training?
Just literally 2 to 3 sessions a day of training. At least 1 or 2 MMA sessions, whether it be like a small group or even like a one-on-one style of training, and then at least one strength and conditioning session per day. And then I try to do a sauna 3 or 4 days a week.
Yeah. Has that sort of changed at all as you get sort of closer to the fight night now?
It will. So I tapered back on the strength lifting because I have the type of body where the more strength lifting I do, the bigger I get. Just it's kind of our genetics in our family. So before these fights, I'll have to stop lifting at least like 3 weeks out instead of the typical 1 week, 2 weeks out. And then I increase my running from about doing just treadmill.
Wish I had that same problem.
Oh well, you could. You just got to do legs first. If you hit your legs before anything else, you'll see the gains.
Yeah.
That's why it's my no, and then I'm gonna do more running. So I'll be running at least like 3.5 to 5 miles per day, and then maybe just like do an incline treadmill stuff every day as well. Just a
to
lot
help
of
to help you cut
cardio.
that weight down as you get closer.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people don't talk about this, but it's actually the water loading at the end, like during the fight week. So like when all these fighters are like, man, yeah, like the week of the fight, I have to cut 20 pounds. It's like, I don't feel bad for them. We all do it because we're all making that sacrifice to fight at a lower weight class that we're not walking around at. And so what I usually do is I'll walk around like 200 or 205, and then 6 weeks out, I'll taper down to about 195. But the week of the fight, I'm going in that Sunday drinking 2 gallons of water. So I'm about 193. So I'm about, a good anywhere between 18 to 22 pounds over, just because once you have the 2 gallons of water and you cut the sodium, you're just going to start pissing all that out as you're running. And then it's just a water manipulation cut. So like the next day you'll do a gallon of water and then another gallon of water, then a half gallon, quarter gallon, and just more and more. And then probably cut like the last 5 or 6 pounds the morning of the weigh-ins this time instead of the night before.
Yeah. Is the weight cut ever something you've struggled much with in the past?
Not necessarily, but the last weight cut was pretty rough just because I'm so used to doing nighttime weight cuts. So the last 2 weight cuts I've had were morning weigh-ins. And what I used to do for wrestling was I'd sleep in, and if I was on weight, I'd be fine. But if I was like a pound over or a pound and a half over, I just put on a sauna suit and go run. And it wasn't too bad. I'd wake up like an hour before to check my weight to make sure everything was good. So now I'm going to have to start doing that again because all the weigh-ins are in the mornings and they're not the night before, they're the morning before. So instead of allowing myself to stay there dehydrated for hours on end, I'm just going to make it to where I feel comfortable when I go to bed, get a full night's sleep, cut the rest of the weight. That way I can rehydrate all that weight back a lot healthier. It'd be like doing a sauna session, but then like it'd be like doing like an hour-long sauna session. You forgot to bring water, and so you feel kind of, terrible in a sense. But then once you start hydrating, you feel great.
Yeah. Was that for the Philip Bro fight? It didn't go as well.
The weight cut not so well, but there was a lot of other factors that played into that fight too. At the end of the day, though, he was the better man in that second round. So that's all I can say about it.
Yeah. You're not sort of saying that the weight cut sort of affected you in the fight at all, or?
Nah, the weight cuts kind of affect everybody in a sense. Like the weight cut, I just didn't sleep well. Once I cut the weight, because I made sure to hit the weight the night before, thinking, "Hey, cool! Like this is what I used to do. I can still do it." But at the same time, it's like when I went into the fight with Matt Dixon, I did the same thing. I kind of felt like shitty throughout the night, and I was like, "Man, I can't fucking sleep. This is terrible." Like because your body just feels like it's heating up. And so now And then what I used to do is, because we had nighttime weigh-ins, I'd wake up like maybe anywhere between 4 to 6 pounds, so on average 5 pounds over the morning before. I'd have like one egg and a handful of berries just so I can have the sugar like go to the brain and stuff like that, a little bit of carbs and protein to start, my weight cut during the day. I would always cut the final 3 pounds or 4 pounds in the sauna around like an hour and a half, like give myself 90 minutes before and like do like a hot tub if I have to and stuff like that. So this time I'm gonna do a little bit different. I'm gonna wake up 2 hours before the weigh-in and then just go cut the rest.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned the Matt Dixon fight. You look like you were still going strong in the third round, while he looked like he was sort of slowing down a little bit.
Yep. And I feel like if ref didn't stop that last fight, I could have kept going in the third round. I just got that mentality of I'm not going to stop. Even with the right arm being numb in that last fight, I just told myself don't stop until the ref stops it. So I did the best I could. And yeah, like I said, Phil Rowe was the better man that day. And hopefully I'll be able to see him again in the future.
Is there anything you attribute that good cardio to?
Just hard training, man. Like whenever I'm training, I always pressure. I'm not the kind of guy who like stop even if I'm like tired and like one of my teammates gets the better of me. I just tell them, dude, just keep going. Like beat the fuck out of me. Because you kind of have to have that mentality. Like if you're having a bad day, that's a good day for you because you can learn from those bad days.
Yeah. What was that? So going back to Matt Dixon fight again, I think you're quite a big underdog going into that fight. So how did it feel for them winning that and then getting the UFC contract?
Oh, I mean, I don't care if I'm the favorite or the underdog. I just love fighting, man. And then I knew like winning that fight would be a good clear path to the UFC. So I mean, that was the greatest part about it, was knowing that hey, like winning that fight was going to be a guaranteed UFC spot, because a lot of the people kept typing him up as like the next big prospect. And so I was kind of just on the side, just talking to my brother, and we're like, dude, we don't give a fuck who these people are. Like we fought top prospects before. We don't give a shit. Just get us on the card, get us a fight, and we're gonna show we're gonna try to at least show the world why we should be fan favorites. We're not gonna always like have the best performances, maybe, but we're always going to do our best to train our hardest to make sure we can put on a fan favorite fight every single time. So
yeah, that must have made it a bit sweeter then, than being that bit of hype behind him, like you were saying.
yeah, I don't want to leave it to the judges. I mean, shit, we just saw the last couple of cards, we've been seeing a lot of poor decision making by the judges. So I never want to be one of those fighters where I go in and potentially have a close fight and not know whether or not I did enough. So honestly, I'd rather get finished than lose by decision. At least I know it's decisive.
Yeah. Has it been a bit frustrating since being in the UFC that you've not been able to get quite as many fights as you'd have liked? I know obviously earlier on in your career you were able to get like 4 fights in the year in 2019, I think.
Yeah, so it was 2020. I was actually supposed to make my UFC debut, because in 2020 I got my Contender Series contract, and then we went on the honeymoon for the wife and I after I got married. But then during the honeymoon, I got the call to fight Nick Dalby, and the training was going great. Training camp was going awesome. But I just woke up in the middle of the night and my whole entire neck, shoulder, whole arm, my lap, my pec, just on fire, as if somebody was stabbing it with needles. And pretty sure it was from like a stinger that I got earlier in the day, but I just kept pushing through because I went for a double-edged shot. I felt the sting a little bit, but I've been used to it for my whole life. So I was like, whatever, just shrug it off, get it rubbed out. Let's go right back to training. And yeah, no, right after that, I couldn't even use my arm for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And, it was so painful. I didn't sleep for like 3 days. So like, even if like my family and stuff, they were like trying to give me like some sleeping pills and stuff, and it just wasn't working. Like the pain would be so bad, I'd have to nonstop just keep moving it in different positions. That way I didn't get like more numb, because it felt like somebody was taking a bunch of needles and stabbing me all over while digging it around in the skin, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And it was that reason the Nick Dalby fight was called off.
Yeah, but hopefully, like, if all goes well, I'll be able to get that fight in the future too, because I know a lot of people sounded like they were excited about that kind of matchup. I mean, I'm a pressure fighter. He comes in, he's willing to bang. So, and we're both the kind of guys that want to look for the finish. So, like I said, I got to focus on my fight coming up right now, though. He's kind of a guy that he's going to look for the knockout. He's a big, heavy striker. Doesn't really throw too many combinations together. So, and his round game isn't too much, but at the same time, he has that strength. He definitely has the striking experience. So, it'll be a tough matchup if I make it tougher than I need to be. But all the respect to him as well. You know, he didn't have to take this fight with the way his last fight went, knowing that he's about to be fighting another ground guy as well. So he definitely looks forward to the challenge, and I'm looking forward to the challenge of having a decorated striker such as himself, for sure.
Yeah, I think the fight was made once before his last fight, wasn't it? Were you still keen to fight him after that loss?
Yeah, so it was made twice. I was supposed to fight him on that card, but I ended up getting COVID that lasted for 2 weeks, and I felt good. I would go train one day, but then I'd be out for 3 days after. Like my body would shut down. I was like, "What the fuck?" So I gave myself a little bit of time to recover, and once I did that, I mean, the fight was like within 3 weeks left to go, and I was only able to train maybe once or twice a week, and so the UFC pushed it back to another day, but they allowed him to stay on the card, which is, good for him because I didn't want him to have to wait further. It's good that he got to make his debut and get the pre-cage jitters out of the way. Then we're supposed to fight in Singapore on June 11th, and he had to pull out, and he had to recover from an injury. And so we said, yeah, we'll just push it back. I mean, he did it for us, and we couldn't get another fight on Singapore. Plus, that saved me from having to pay for like other corners or 15% tax on Singaporean taxes. It would have been a fun trip, but it would have just been a little too much for making, with what my contract is right now. So I'm looking forward to this one in Dallas, though. Hopefully, third time's the charm. Both of us are healthy and ready to go out there and put on a show for you and the rest of the fans.
Yeah. With his background in striking and yours in grappling, like you were saying, do you sort of see that as being your sort of clear route to victory in this fight with your grappling?
I mean, I feel like I have decent striking, so my striking is always improving, it's getting better and better, and then I'm using my striking for my wrestling. I mean, even in the last fight, it wasn't like I was getting blitz. I mean, Phil Rowe had his moments, and then I would come back with my moments and land on him. And I think what I need to do is just go back to my style. With that last fight, like I said, I had like the arm going numb, so I kept thinking about that too much. And with this next fight, I just got to remember I can't think. I do better when I don't think. So,
Well, was that something you were concerned about during the fight, the Phil Rowe fight? Yeah, your arm being numb.
Yeah. So going into the second round, I told my brother, I was like, "Hey, I can't feel my right arm; it's going numb." And he's all, I was like, I got to change. So I had to change the game plan because I knew the grappling wasn't going to work as effectively. So I think it was with like a minute and a half or a minute left to go in the first round. I started feeling it while we were on the ground. I was like, what the fuck? And it's just from his previous injury, stuff like that. I was trying to get it worked on too by the UFC PI, like doctors and massage therapists that they have. So they were like needle and threading. There was like a huge muscle contusion that was shutting down the nerve on the arm. But I made weight, and I was just ready to fight. So I wasn't going to say no. Like I said, I trained my ass off. I wanted to put on a show. And hey, at the end of the day, first round, it wasn't a fun round, but I was able to use my wrestling, prove that I can take it to the ground and keep it there. And then the second round, things changed when that guy kicked me in the dick. So I mess with him sometimes. Like if he's making a comment, be like, "You're just a nut kicker." But we have respect for each other. I have a lot of respect for Phil Rowe, and he has a lot of respect for me in that sense. We were cutting weight together the night before in the sauna and stuff like that too. So we knew that there's no animosity towards one another. It's a job. We go out there, we try to beat the shit out of each other, and at the end of the day, we just still have that respect for each other.
Is that something you have for a lot of your opponents? Or are you sort of a type of fighter who needs to find something they don't like about their opponent? Do you mean they need to hate their opponent to get in there?
I grew up watching Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT Super. Like I grew up a huge Dragon Ball fan, and I base it all off of Goku. Like he didn't need a reason to fight anybody; he just wanted to fight the strongest people. And for me, that's what I want to do. I want to fight the best fighters. So I don't want to fight people like, oh, hey, like you can for sure easily beat this guy 100 times out of 100 times. No, I want the guys that people are like, I don't know, man, this is going to be a tough matchup. It's like, cool. Excites me. Like, those are the matches I want.
Yeah.
I just want to test myself.
Yeah. With the, obviously, getting closer to the fight night with Blood Diamond now, has nerves ever sort of been a factor for you? Or do you just sort of, you're excited for it?
No, I'm excited for it. I don't get nervous when I fight. Just train, have fun, and go out there and do what I do best. And I think this time we're going to be able to see me get my UFC debut, or not debut, but my first UFC victory, and that'll be one of many more to come.
Yeah, another finish, so 100% finish, right?
Yeah, I'll never let it go to decision.
You mentioned Nick Dolby, obviously with a win in a couple of weeks' time. Is that sort of another opponent that you'd like to see?
Yeah, if he's willing to. I know that he still has his contract going, so it just depends on what the UFC sees is best fit. I've already told my manager, and he talks with Sean, so that's why Sean Shelby, I think, has a tendency of trying to get me like fights on bigger cards, is because I just want to be able to put on whatever they think is going to be the best looking match. And I already told him, like, hey, like, if you guys need me short notice against a top guy, I don't care. I'll do it. Like, so I think the UFC likes hearing that, but now I just had to go and prove that I can't be one of those guys who can compete at that level. So on, July 30th, going to go out there, look for the finish, and put on a show for the fans, and hopefully be able to get another quick fight right after.
Yeah. Can I get a prediction off you for the fight, how you see it ending?
I think TKO. I honestly see myself getting the TKO, whether it be ground and pound or the ref just stops it because he's not able to get out of a certain position. There's been a lot of more grappling, wrestling, and sensitive positions I've been working specifically for his body style and his striking type. So they'll be good.
What weaknesses do you see in his game? You said he doesn't put too many combinations together.
And it's not necessarily a weakness for him. That's just his kickboxing style, and it's worked for his entire career for the most part. And so he's definitely going to be a heavy-handed guy. I just got to be smart, go out there, don't let him land any clean shots. And when I go out there, I got to throw my own shots, make sure they land clean, and use that to my advantage instead of my dirty boxing and wrestling, because that's where I'm best, is when I'm like heavy pressure against the cage and heavy pressure the entire fight. So you'll see a lot of pressure coming from me, whether it be 1 round, 3 rounds, doesn't matter. I'll still keep pushing the pace the entire time.
Yeah. Looking forward to it, mate. Appreciate you chatting to me.
Hey, take care, Joe. Talk to you after the fight.